Do you want to start recording over or?
We'll just let this go. All right, let's give it a few seconds. All right, I think that's take off of that.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Tomato Cans Podcast. Tomato Can Be Nasty here.
Tomato Can Sperm? Is that? I don't know, man. I after we had Dre Day in here and he brought up other nicknames, I kind of like that.
What was it? Gumby?
Yeah, Deadly Gumby.
Deadly Gumby.
Man,
Deadly Gumby's
I miss that. I like that name a lot. That's the jiu-jitsu name, though, for sure. You know what I mean? Anyways, and we're here with Twee.
Hello, hello.
All right,
Tomato
Twee.
Can Twee.
Tomato Can Twee.
Tomato Can Twee. Hello,
So,
hello.
Tomato Can Twee, I'm going to go ahead and have to ask you to keep that mic about 6 inches away from your face.
Okay. That's how I like it, though. At least it's away from my face.
I'm sorry I had to say that. That's the one time that I felt like I could actually get away with it. Put me in a little bit of a Rogan podcast mode.
Yeah.
That's nice. Well, what's up, guys? Here we go. It's a Friday night.
Yeah, man. It was nice having Dre in here.
Yeah, man. We just shortly got off of doing a podcast with Tomato Can Dre Day.
Yeah.
He'll be back for sure. He had to go do some shit. He's got people he's got to take care of himself, make that money. But
Yeah, man. You could tell that he was really happy to be out of the house. You know?
Oh man. So yes, with that being said, let's try to stay away from quarantine. You know what I mean? It's hard it's hard to talk about or not talk about coronavirus, but fucking hey, let's not talk about that shit. I think the first thing I'll bring up, did you guys see the fights on Wednesday night?
No.
Which
You
ones?
weren't here, man.
No, yeah, you're right. I wasn't. So Wednesday night we had some fights. Let's see. The main event was Anthony Smith versus Glover Teixeira.
Ooh.
Man,
Okay.
I don't know. That was a brutal fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Did
a brutal
Smith take
fight.
it?
No, Smith got his ass beat.
Really?
Honestly.
Damn.
He looked good at the beginning, but Glover Teixeira brought it on the last 2-3 rounds.
Wow.
And as a matter of fact, at one point, since you guys didn't see it, the one point, Anthony Smith is kind of in a turtle position,
Mm-hmm.
and Glover Teixeira is kind of like a back mount, but more like a side back mount,
Okay.
raining down punches. And so he's hitting him from, the back to the side of the face. And Anthony Smith's tooth fell out.
Oh, shit.
Wow.
And Smith grabbed the tooth as it's on the mat. He grabs it off the mat and he pushes it over and hands it to the ref. And he's like talking to the ref, and at the time you're like, what the fuck are they talking about?
Yeah.
But he's telling the ref, like, hey, here's my tooth. Hold on to my tooth. You know what I mean? And so even during that transition, Glover Teixeira says something along the lines of like, oh man, I'm sorry about it. I'm sorry about that, man. And Anthony Smith is just like, hey, it is what it is.
Wow.
Damn.
So I mean, he got beat
Wow.
down, but at the same time, he was cognizant of what was going on around him. You know what I mean?
And still raining down a barrage.
Yeah, and still withstanding a barrage, but he definitely got beat up, which
Wow.
that was tough to see, man. But hey, a fight game's a fight game. It
Yeah,
happens,
for
you know
sure,
what I mean?
man.
True, man.
So what's up, fellas? What you got? What you got?
Nothing, man. I've been trying to work on my vocals, like I told you. I'm so disappointed in myself, man, right now.
Yeah, so we were talking beforehand, along with all this that we're bringing on, we want to add music to it. We
Yeah.
want to do some more things.
Well, we're
to
all
it.
going to add a little bit of our own flavor.
Yeah.
And have multiple content for you guys out there.
Yeah, well, that'll all be coming together slowly but surely. But man, talking about that specific thing is with bringing all this back up, I start getting into editing stuff or animation stuff, graphic stuff, whatever it might be. But you always think like, I'm good. I just gotta get right back into it and hammer it out.
Right.
So like with you singing, right? You think like, I'll just pick the mic up.
It
just
ain't
hammer
easy,
right back
man.
out.
It ain't easy, but I think I'll get there, man. I'm not too far off. I think I'm exaggerating it a little bit, but we are our own worst critics. So it didn't sound quite as up to par as I would like it to, but I think I'll get there.
Right. So what song were you trying to sing?
Bruno Mars.
Okay.
What the hell is that Moon song? Talking to the Moon.
Talking to the Moon.
Yeah.
So you feel comfortable enough to like spit a bar from it right here?
I would do I will do this more regularly, but I want my debut to have that wow factor.
Okay.
Maybe we'll do it off air. Well, actually, we are going to do it off air because I think that we can, with this better setup, that it'll help it out more.
Sound better.
Yeah, it's definitely nice. I mean, I know even from the standpoint of where we've been to this point,
Right.
you know, you look at, I think this setup that we got going on now, it's definitely going to be better going forward.
Yeah.
This is going to be an improvement. Hopefully, it'll get fucking people to stick around. You know?
Yeah, I know, man. Come
Listen,
back more often.
figure
Be
shit out.
regulars.
We come.
Because really, there's what, 6 tomato cans, right?
Yeah, I would say. I mean, essentially 6, 7. You know, funny thing about the group is we don't really have an established number, but we all fucking get along.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's
Wu-Tang.
exactly. Tomato cans is for the children, bitches.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Tomato cans is for the children. But yeah, I think the more we do it, the more people that will get involved, and the more regularly they'll get involved. You know, this
Yeah.
ain't easy, man.
No, it ain't, man.
I tell you what,
Pimping ain't easy.
Yeah. It's
pimping
fun,
ain't
man.
easy, but
It's
it
fun.
show is fun. It show is fun.
Yeah.
I didn't really think, you know, I think the more as I do this, I'm enjoying it. It's almost.
I am a lot too. I mean, like I said earlier, man, this today was I've been looking forward to today all
Yeah.
week long, man.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's crazy. You get in front of this microphone and, you know, you think about stuff that you want to say, and before you know it, the time just fucking flies.
Right.
You gotta like try to actually, you know, cognizantly be on a schedule, because if not, we'll just go off on a tangent.
Keep going. We got to
over
remember
there,
to take our breaks,
I
eat
know,
food,
right?
and
fucking take a piss.
take care of our
whatever.
family.
Jesus.
We get sucked into this black hole, never
I
come
know,
out,
man.
man.
That's good though. It's good.
What about you, man? What's new?
With me, let's see. Well, you know, I did a nice pasta sauce yesterday.
Oh,
Made a nice
yeah, I
pasta
saw the pictures.
sauce.
How'd that turn out?
Oh, it turned out great. So I did
Cream sauce, tomato sauce.
no, I did a nice marinara tomato sauce base with basically it was mostly mushrooms, homemade meatballs, and then I used a lot of the basil in my own garden.
Oh,
you
that's
know,
nice.
When you do the meatballs, do you use different meats and stuff?
No, you know, so traditionally, like especially with like a Sunday gravy, so I usually call it like Sunday gravy. That's an argument in itself, whether or not it's sauce or gravy,
Okay.
depending on which Italian you ask. You know, that can fucking really depend. But for me, when I do the meatballs, I'd like to just use ground beef.
Mm-hmm.
You don't mix it with like
Pork and lamb.
pork or
No, not the meatballs themselves. What I like to do though when I do the Sunday gravy is I like to do Italian sausage, so you get the pork in there,
Okay.
and then I like to do meatballs as well. So you have meat, you have your red meat or your cow, your beef or whatever, and then you also have the Italian sausage. If you really get into it, like the authentic Italian gravy, quote unquote, or a Sunday gravy, that's going to include. It's usually going to have a sausage, it's going to have a meatball, and then it'll have another pork product as well, like a brachiole or something. So it's another form of meat.
Okay. A brachio?
Yeah, so it's like I probably said it wrong, honestly, but it's pretty much like pork that you'll take and then you'll hammer it out, so it's almost like a thin meat.
Okay.
And then from that point, you want to season it. You put basil leaves in there, or you can
nice.
put some other stuff in there to give it a flavor or seasoning.
Okay.
And then you roll it back up on itself so it comes out, rolled up like a cigar.
Okay.
And then you either take a cooking twine or some sort of twine to keep them tied up and rolled together. A lot of times you'll use toothpicks also. You just stick a toothpick through it to keep it rolled up. But it's just a seasoned pork that's rolled up into almost like a cigar shape.
Yep.
And it's just another form of meat that goes into the Italian gravy. But that's really traditionally, that's what you add into you have the three meats. You have a sausage, you have a meatball, and then you have your pork braciole or brachiole, however you say it. Again, I probably fucked that up. But the big thing for me was like for this, I've been growing my basil, and we talked about it a little bit very previously, but my basil is fucking looking phenomenal right
Good,
now.
good.
Nice.
Yeah, really nice. So
My parents, my house, I have Thai basil
right,
all over everywhere
right.
because my parents can't control the yard. It's just like even on my papers, like basil is just popping out.
Yeah. Well, and so that's, we can get into this even like the difference, a Thai basil versus the Italian basil. The Thai basil, it gets like the purple ends.
Yes.
It's a lot more
yeah.
potent too.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a lot stronger of flavor, right?
Yeah.
So you don't need as much when you're cooking with it. What are like essentially for you guys in a Hmong culture, like, do you use Thai basil in a lot of your recipes?
Not a lot,
No,
but
it's
you
more
know.
Thai thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we put it in our curries. We'll put it in the salad, the beef salads,
Okay.
and stuff. Soup, stir fries.
Right. Yeah, and so that's different. I mean, even for me, like I look at it with the Italian basil, I primarily am going to use it for making my sauces.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? An Italian sauce. There's other things you can use it for. The biggest thing would either be an Italian sauce or a pesto.
Yeah.
And I love making a homemade pesto.
I like pesto too.
Yeah.
Pesto's good.
And homemade pestos are nice to make, but we talked about it before. Like your biggest factor there is you got to deal with pine nuts.
Yeah,
Mhm.
And pine nuts, it's seasonal
and expensive.
very expensive, But and like we were saying, you go into the Asian market to get your Thai basil as opposed to going to just your normal grocery store.
Oh,
and they
right.
have
They
it.
taste different,
Right.
I don't know how like a tomato sauce would taste with Thai basil.
Right. Yeah, it would definitely. I think it would bring out a different flavor. It would make it.
It might actually ruin it.
Yeah, I know. I would agree with that.
I think it's
I
a
don't
little
think
bit
it's
too
gonna work,
strong.
man.
Yeah,
Even if you don't put as much in there, I think that it'll overpower a lot of things.
Yeah, it's a different bitterness to it.
Right.
You know
a
what I
different
mean?
scent, definitely.
Yeah, and I like that, but again, that's different palettes, right, or different flavor palettes. It's something for me, like even moving out here to go to culinary school and learning shit from that way. You don't really have an idea about cooking ingredients until you use them. The more you use them, you get a better idea. But I've never really used Thai basil that much compared to using Italian basil.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit more. What drove you to culinary school?
So I mean, I grew up like pretty much. I'm a quarter Italian. On my mother's side, my grandfather was full-blood Italian, and my grandmother was, I believe, Swedish, Norwegian, Swedish. I can't remember it off the top of my head.
Some Caucasian shit.
Yeah, definitely Eastern or definitely white European. You know what I mean? And so I pretty much grew up learning how to cook just from being around my mother, being around from my grandmother, and my grandmother, it's funny because, like I said, she's not Italian, but a lot of her recipes, she learned Italian recipes and stuff. However, she did a lot of shit up until when she died where, like, she'd do a recipe, but she wouldn't put all of the ingredients.
They hold out, right?
Yeah, they wouldn't tell you the whole recipe. So you only get part of the fucking recipe.
I think that's part Italian in itself.
I mean, in itself.
Man.
But hey, I'm not going to lie.
That's authentic Italian right there.
Yeah, that is, because that even comes down, and that in itself lies into me and is instilled into me into where even now, like, I have a hard time giving people recipes. I almost look at it like every recipe I could give should be in a cookbook.
Yeah.
So when you give it up for free, what the fuck I'm selling myself short, you know what I mean? But to get back to it, yeah, I started cooking ideally with my mother and my grandmother, watching them cook and just kind of learning. On my dad's side, my parents being divorced, growing up with my dad, we didn't really cook that much. We didn't cook as much as we went out to eat. I think part of that was because my father had me every other weekend, so I spent pretty much out of 2 weeks, 11 and a half days with my mom, and then I'd go see my dad for a weekend. So on the weekends, we weren't cooking as much as we were just going out to eat or doing
So you're
whatever.
primarily with your mom anyways then?
Yeah. So I grew up, living with my mom. And that's where I learned, that's where I got the passion. I watched, even with my mom, as I was a kid and she was, remarried or whatnot, we would spend days and nights and weekends like cooking all the time.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah.
That's
and
good.
it started like primarily with steaks. You know, watching them cook steaks and saute mushrooms and baked potatoes, and then it was like, you know, doing different shrimp dishes, tandoori chicken.
Oh wow,
which was and that was one of my favorites, even from a kid, just watching and learning and seeing that as I grew up.
Tandoori chicken. I mean, is it?
So
did you guys
not in a tandoori store.
I mean, yeah, I was gonna say.
I mean, it's a tandoori chicken for a reason.
Yeah, and we don't have the traditional bury underground tandoori pot, but we actually did have one of the clay tandoori pots that we would use.
Right. Yeah.
You know, but we didn't bury it. We just went as far as using that above ground. But the thing is,
was it propane underneath, or is it?
You guys use it depended. With the clay pot, we use coal. You know what I mean?
Good. That's perfect.
Yeah.
That's
so when we used the clay pot, we would use coal. If we didn't, a lot of it was propane or grill cooking. You know what I mean? But with tandoori chicken, you cannot grill cook it. You have to do it that right way.
Right.
And if you do, it takes so fucking long.
You know what I mean? My neighbor was he's from Indian descent, and he had a tandoori in his backyard, but it was propane.
Yeah.
And he went to go light it one time, but he didn't know how to do it. So he, well, when he came in, when I saw him, he had no eyebrows.
Yeah. Gone.
You know, so that's why it's like, you know, if it's propane, it seems like it's hard to light. And when you do light it, you lose eyebrows.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, something like that, you know, with tandoori especially, it's got to be like a slow and low. Yeah. You know what I mean? And propane works for sure. You can, you know, I prefer a gas range. Yeah. If somebody were going to offer me a gas range over like coils or electric, of course, when it's at gas, you have better control over stuff. Oh, yeah. You know? But like that, with that being said, you could also lose an eyebrow or two. You know what I mean? But I mean, to get back to it, yeah, so that was really where I started learning. As I got older, it got to where I started cooking on my own. I mean, even by like probably 10 or 12, probably 12, I was making food for parties. If my dad would have a party, I'd make food for the parties. Or at my mom's house, same thing. I was helping in the kitchen with whatever I could, you know, to find out. The first time I made my own spaghetti sauce, I say my own spaghetti sauce, it was a family recipe.
Okay.
But I made it for a girlfriend to impress her. And I was 14 years old.
Needless to say, she's not your girlfriend anymore.
She ain't my girlfriend. Hey, the sauce worked. I am not going to blame the sauce. The sauce worked. You know, at the time, it did what it was supposed to do. But my interests, they waned as far as...
So what was the first dish that you really learned how to cook? Like a dish?
Man, so... I think, like, for me, the very first dish that I did on my own from beginning to end that I can really recall off the top of my head was my father and we went to South Padre Island.
Nice.
And so we took a vacation down there and we did some deep sea fishing. And when we did this deep sea fishing, we caught a bunch of king mackerel.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
So... which is really cool. I don't know if you guys have had king mackerel, but
I've just had regular mackerel.
I just had mackerel.
I mean, it's the same. Yeah, it's the same. But you know, that's what it was called, was king mackerel. Yeah, just bigger. No, I mean, it's the same shit, different toilet. But point being is, so we caught this fish, and then we brought back some of it with us up to Oklahoma on our way back home. And I remember we did a party, and that was like at the party for the party we had. It was like a summer party or whatever. Okay. And I remember I told my dad, I was like, I want to cook all of it. You know, like I'd done it. I'd helped with random things at my mom's and just growing up learning. But that was the first time where I really was like, I want to, you know, do all this myself. So I remember at that point, like we soaked all the mackerel fillets in buttermilk to try to get the fishy smell out. And then we had probably 30 people over. And at that age, I was just standing in front of a grill for a couple hours, just grilling off mackerel. And I did like grilled vegetables. I don't remember exact vegetables, but it's grilled vegetables, grilled fish. And that was pretty much it.
Nice.
I mean, that was first time that I can recall off the top of my head, beginning to end, you know?
Yeah.
I can like think of other times making pizzas and stuff, but that was help or being with my parents, you know.
Yeah.
That was the first time I really did everything on my own. And then that kind of like branched out to where, like I said, I made that pasta sauce for a girlfriend. And that was me and one of my really good friends that I ended up moving out here to Arizona with. So the two of us, we made the sauce together. It was a family recipe. Made the sauce. The girls came over, his girlfriend, my girlfriend. They loved it. We got ours, to say the least, at the time, considering what ours is. But we got ours, you know, and it all worked out. And then that same buddy of mine, you know, the two of us years and years later, we ended up moving out here to Arizona for culinary school.
Oh,
so
nice.
I mean, that's where it all began. You know what I mean? Just kind of cooking at home and learning stuff. And I wouldn't say like I said, from my dad's side, there was never really that much cooking.
Yeah.
Growing up,
A lot of eating out and
a
stuff.
lot of eating out.
I think it's one of those skills that's essential, man.
Yeah.
Right.
You
Well,
know?
and I even, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
go
there,
ahead.
but I mean, I look fast forwarding to now.
Yeah.
I look with my daughters, you
Oh.
know, and I try to show them or teach them and instill in them as much as I can, because I especially look at it, and I tell both of them, especially Chloe since she's older, and I tell her, like, you do not be the fucker that, or I don't say that. I say,
Fucker.
you do not be the person that cooks all the fucking meals. You
Mm.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, no matter what, like, my goal is I want to take pride in the fact that my daughters can outcook whoever's cooking for them.
Mm.
And if they talk a little bit of shit along the way, well, so fucking be it. That just means that dude has to work that much harder. You know what I mean? And he should, rightfully, he should. I didn't get it easy when it came to cooking. You know what I mean? And I
Right.
learned the hard way. I learned by being in there and doing it. I mean, I learned from if I didn't eat my meal too, like I didn't get dinner.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's one thing though I definitely tell my girls is like, I want them to learn. They're at an age right now, they want to learn a little bit, but not everything.
Yeah.
And I get that, you
Yeah.
know, but
yeah. Well, the interest has to be there, you know?
Yeah.
I think much like you, I like to cook when I was young too.
right.
And even with Charles, you know, I try to show him stuff. He's kind of halfway in it, halfway out of it. But I think that for his age,
Yeah.
he can outcook a lot of kids his age,
Yeah.
you know, already.
And you know, you see, I mean, I look at shows like the Master Chef Kids shows,
Oh, yeah.
you know, and stuff like that. And I think like, you know, nowadays, and this probably touches into like the technology side of things too, but you look at nowadays, I mean, it's so much easier for these kids to
Yeah,
have
for sure.
access to like the
Step-by-step videos.
step by step. Dude, I didn't, you know, the first time I'm learning to cook, I wasn't taught by goddamn YouTube.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Or Gordon Ramsay.
Yeah, I didn't learn
Yeah.
from watching videos of these guys doing it. I was in the kitchen, like being told what to do.
Hey, I tell you
You
what,
know?
man, Gordon Ramsay's recipes are legit, dude.
Yeah.
Oh,
He's
man.
good, man.
He's-
good.
They're legit.
He's one of my all-time favorites. I don't
Yeah.
give a fuck what anybody says. If you get by, and I think we've talked about it before, but my favorite show of his was The F Word. I don't know if you
Yeah,
ever
you
saw
told me
The
about
F
that.
Word.
I've never
but
watched it.
The F Word it's one of his older shows. It was just a BBC show, but The F Word, it really touches into more of showing you just how good of a fucking chef that guy is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of guys out there. I mean, look, like Bourdain, what he was able to do, unbelievable. I
Mhm.
mean, he changed the landscape. When his book came out, it changed stuff
Oh,
just
yeah.
from a reading aspect. But then watching No Reservations, I really added that connection. And I think a part of that too, though, is with the addition of technology, the way it is.
Right.
You know, but I mean, when I look at Chef Ramsey, I mean, damn, that guy does some phenomenal stuff.
Yeah, he's really good, man.
He's
and
good, no doubt.
you got to get by his shows where he's just fucking throwing plates of food at people and yelling
Yeah,
at
you know
them,
what?
you know?
I mean, he has that persona that looks like that. He might be an ass.
Yeah, and he plays Officer Hard Ass,
Like,
and he
fuck,
does a
dude.
very good
It's what
job. of
sells,
it.
man.
It sells
You know?
for sure. It sells, you know.
I tried his bolognese sauce. Oh my god, it's so good.
What is that? To put on
It's
what?
like a beefy tomato sauce.
Okay.
You can put it on whatever.
So I just actually was watching a video today of his sticky ribs recipe.
Really?
like his pork sticky ribs recipe.
Mm.
And I mean, I don't know. So he used star anise. He was using rice wine vinegar.
Okay.
He was using garlic, not five spice, but another one of the spices. But bottom line is, honey and everything else. But when it came out, like, it looked really fun. I mean, it looked legit. You know what I mean?
This was after he did that Asia tour thing to go learn to cook from all the villagers.
I would imagine so. I don't know. I mean, I literally just saw the video today, and it was him saying, "This is my favorite way to make, sticky pork ribs." Or whatever. But I mean, the guy can definitely cook. Even in that show, The F Word, there's a couple of those episodes. I remember seeing one of them where he goes to like India, and he's trying to do tandoori for a bunch of Indians in India. And afterwards, they're like, it wasn't that good. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
But,
Asians are always going to complain.
Right.
Asians will always complain. So
the thing, though, once you're an artist, you just need a canvas.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if after so long you've accumulated so many techniques on how to do things, it's just another variation of what you're supposed to do. You know what I mean?
Right.
I bet you he could take any of those recipes that he learned over there, flip it, give it his own little twist, and it'd be 1,000 times better.
Oh, I guarantee it.
But the problem is that there's culture behind food, right?
Yeah.
So even if it doesn't taste great, the culture has
A story
acquired that taste for it.
And a feel behind it, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
so even if it tastes better, it won't taste as good to certain people.
and actually I'll admit it right here, since we're talking about, this is something that I've thought about a lot, hanging out with you guys especially, is like, I love Asian food, but like thinking to myself, like, could I make a curry that if I just sat down in front of you guys would eat and be like, oh man, that tastes like grandma's, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, curry is definitely one of those
It's hard.
that has culture
tough.
behind it.
It's
hard.
really, really tough. Or pho, the same way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's certain recipes that I feel like no matter how much I fucking know about cooking, you have to almost live it, experience it, and I mean not just live the recipe, but it goes deep beyond that.
Right.
You have to understand it. You have to understand the culture behind it, the tastes that go into it. It's got a feeling behind it.
Well, pho is especially difficult because it's a really delicate broth.
Right.
So any little tweak that you make to it, it stands out. You know what I mean?
So that's a good point. So like, I do ask, like, when you're making a pho broth, do you guys use roasted bones like beforehand?
I don't roast the bones.
I don't
Okay.
roast the bones. Yeah,
No.
I don't roast the bones.
Never.
No,
you just
never.
boil them or whatever.
Yeah, because you're roasting other things, the onions, the star anise, and everything. So you already have a lot of. Plus, when I make the pho, my first boil gets dumped out. So all the contaminants and everything that comes out of the bones and the meats and stuff, that all gets tossed away.
Right.
That's the good stuff.
And then
Yeah.
I
So
build
that,
the
and
broth.
I was gonna ask him, Twee, like you said, that's the good stuff, because
I don't make it anymore. I used to keep it, but my wife dumps all that out too.
Right.
And she has the same recipe as my brother.
Yeah, I can't eat those impurities, especially with my gout. It makes it even worse, man.
so you almost have to boil it out to get any of that impure taste or whatever out
Get
of
all
it.
that consomme
Yeah,
stuff.
and to get and to all the fat that renders out or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
So like a consomme, right?
Yeah.
Consomme pretty much is all the way rendered down. You get all the fat out of there,
Yeah.
and it's just literally the liquid left.
Yeah.
And that's for me, coming from the culinary aspect. Like a vegetable consomme
Mhm.
or
Yeah.
pork consomme, whatever it might be. It's just like you said, just straining it, and it comes down. But that's where I was asking too, because we're always taught, like, as far as a broth or a stock, we roast the bones to get the maximum flavor out of it.
Yeah.
However, like you said, with something like pho, every impurity comes out in the flavor.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So I hadn't really thought about dumping that first boil.
Yep. And there's a lot more to add to the dynamics too. Like cold, like warm pho broth to me is not good.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
you need to eat it
Okay.
like piping hot.
Right.
You know. Another thing is I add daikon to my broth,
Mm-hmm.
and what that does is it doesn't add to the flavor, but what it does is it cuts the flavor off. So you taste the flavor and then it cuts off.
Yeah.
And doesn't stay and linger.
Well, and radish is a really good palate cleanser.
Yeah.
So so daikon radish would make sense
Yep.
there, where it cuts it. So that's where if you're eating other things with it,
Mm-hmm.
you can definitely, you can differentiate what you're eating as
Yeah.
opposed to everything running together, which is crazy though, because even like that, the intricacy of that in itself,
Right.
like the idea behind you guys using something like that to cut flavor out,
Mhm.
knowing that it's taking flavor away from this, but you're eating something else that
Yep.
goes along with it. Man, what the fuck? Americans, like especially like Oklahoma white boy American, we don't have that fucking like delicacy in our cooking.
Hey man, don't get me wrong. I'm cool with like microwave burritos too.
Yeah, man, I tell you, you want a chicken fried steak with gravy, I got you. You know what
That's
I mean?
nice, man.
But it's just funny because we never, I've approached cooking a different way. So it is like the more you learn, bringing this whole kind of full circle, the more you learn and the more you
Yeah.
see from different cultures or different ideas of cooking, the more you take away from it. And it makes
Exactly,
your cooking
man.
better
Okay.
as a whole.
Exactly.
You
It's
know?
just more tools in the bag, man.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And going back, my predominant baseline or background would be with Italian background, but going through culinary school out here and then learning everything I did, working in restaurants. But I'll honestly say too, like I learned more after
Mm-hmm.
going through
Yeah.
culinary school and after cooking at different restaurants and
Yeah.
working at fine dining establishments or working
Okay.
the line at a high scale Italian food restaurant. Like those are the things that really taught me more. And then it takes years of adjusting palate.
Mm-hmm.
I don't give a fuck what anybody says. Like palate adjustment and tastes, that's one of the hardest things to establish.
Yeah,
And,
for sure.
And that's with anything. It doesn't matter. I mean, you look at like a wine sommelier, they make a shit ton of money,
Oh, yeah.
but they can tell you based off of one sip of a glass of wine what fucking year it was,
Mhm.
Oh,
where
yeah.
it was grown, what was wrong with the grape that season. I mean, they, it's like a
Man.
litany of shit that they can go off of a sip of wine.
That's why I have no interest to be one.
No, I agree.
I drink a lot of wine, but there's no way I can turn that stuff.
I tell you what, they make good money though.
I couldn't do it.
But even people with a refined palate, I mean, you can't please everybody, right? So it comes down to ultimately when you're a cook, a chef, or whatever, it comes down to how much you enjoy the food. You know what I
Right.
mean? Because even though you're cooking for other people, you're really cooking for yourself. What tastes
Yeah.
good? Because it's a reflection of who you are. If you look at food as a form of art, you
Right.
know?
And that's a funny word that you bring up, and this can get pretty controversial, but the word chef. You know what I mean? Like I have this idea, like coming through culinary school, learning it and being around people growing up cooking.
Mm-hmm.
It's one thing. But then you like go through culinary school or you work in restaurants, whatever it might be, and your idea of a chef is kind of a different word, or
Yeah.
different definition.
They have a higher esteem in your eyes, right?
Right. But I'll say this much, like I never got the title of chef working in a restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
I never worked my way up to that title of chef in a restaurant. But at the same time, I've got my own recipes. I've made my own recipes. I've catered for weddings. I've
Mhm.
catered for private parties on my own.
Yeah.
I cook
Yeah.
almost every fucking night at the house.
Mhm.
I've cooked for parties that you guys have been to,
Yeah.
vice versa. You cook for parties that I've been to. So with all that being said, like, especially with the training and the background behind it and my love and passion for food, I don't hesitate to call myself a chef, but it's hard, especially in a restaurant term,
Mm-hmm.
when you see people, there's a difference between a line cook and a chef,
Right.
and a lot of people don't know it unless you've been there. But there's a major difference between somebody that just does the job and somebody that orchestrates the job. You know what I mean? Or kind of has the palate to figure out what they want to do. And that's something like I never earned that title necessarily in a restaurant. I was never an executive chef at a commercial restaurant. But I don't look at it in the terms of me being successful from graduating culinary school and learning from where I started. Fuck. I mean, even from learning where I started as a kid, if I had just built off of that base, and you could turn that into being a chef.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
for sure.
There's people nowadays that they may not ever necessarily step foot in a restaurant and work on a line and cook for X amount of people, but they are a successful chef based off of flavors, ideas, or
I mean,
execution.
That's one of those things, because cooking is a form of art, no matter how you look at it. You know what I mean? And that goes with any form of art. Does a singer have to be somebody who works under a record label and sells millions of records or hundreds of thousands of records?
No.
You know what I mean?
No.
Does a painter have to be somebody that has something that's sitting in a gallery somewhere?
No.
You know? So it's all perspective. I think that the chefs who have earned their way there definitely deserve to be held at a higher esteem.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's part of kind of a cultish mindset too. You know what I mean? Like, we're part of this society, and for us to recognize each other at the different stages of being in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and especially
No.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, especially touching on this, with culinary side. I've cooked with many of people that worked in the industry longer than me, but whatever their attitude or their personality, their character, their actual character, it doesn't exactly exemplify or portray what you would want from that guy saying, like, that's a chef.
Well, I mean, with like anything, if the higher you climb, the more, I don't know what you call it, the more bravado you build behind yourself.
Well, and that do as I say, not as I do.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's definitely an attitude that I've come across.
Okay.
I'm not going to lie. Like, there's been times where I've worked on the line. I've been on the line before on a fucking busy Friday or Saturday night. And I've had a chef come up to me and pull me off the line to ask me to get him cocaine. You know what I mean? So, like, exactly. And that's that do as I say, not as I do, right? Like, I'm expected to be or do the same kind of shit that guy does. However...
Yeah, I think that that guy in particular, no matter where he ended up, if he ended up in any position of power, he would still be that same asshole.
Yeah. Exactly.
I don't think that chefs should be defined by the things that he's done.
Nah, absolutely not. And that comes down to, kind of like I was touching on. I don't feel like, for me, I didn't earn that title in an actual restaurant.
Right.
But knowing the true feelings that I have and the true passion and what I've done with cooking over the years, that's what defines the fact. In my own mind is I know I'm a chef.
In some senses, like, you go into these fine dining restaurants and you go look in their fridge and they have everything. You know what I mean? But the true chef are the ones that you throw whatever at them and they can create works of art out of it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So take it as you will. I mean, there's plenty of people out there that I know that can cook just as good as a chef that was not classically trained.
I'm gonna tell you the truth. I didn't care much about any kind of chef until that show, The Iron Chef. That shit just pops up. They do whatever. Man, that shit was good.
Right.
What that does is going to school, going to get classically trained to be a chef, that provides you with a solid base to work off of. You know what I mean? Just like any other degree that you can earn at any school, it doesn't mean that, I have this bachelor's degree or a master's degree, that you're that much better or that much smarter than anybody else. But it does establish a guideline that says, I have worked X amount of time to put in, and I've been certified that I can perform at this level.
Right.
Correct.
You know, so that I look at cooking school the same way,
Yeah.
you know, culinary school the same way as any other school, is that you can prove to other people that if for nothing else, that you had the dedication to see through the program. You know what I mean?
Man, and that's tough too. I mean, honestly, I went through culinary school, you know, I went through that background, but I'll tell you right now, man, especially the way I see it now,
Mm-hmm.
you don't fucking need to go through that.
You don't, but
you don't.
not a lot of people have somebody that they can turn to that teaches them all the ins and outs.
Well, and that becomes a drive and a will.
Well, I mean, you don't know how many adults that I put a knife in their hand and they don't know how to cut a vegetable and meat. You know what I mean?
Bro,
Yeah.
let me tell you how many times I've seen somebody cut
Right.
a vegetable and I'm
Oh.
like,
Yeah,
in my
you're gonna
head,
cut
I'm
your
just
finger,
like,
man.
oh
Stop.
my God, just
Right.
stop touching
Stop.
it right now. You know what I mean?
You go sit over there.
So it is absurd how lacking some people are as far as it comes to culinary skills. But on the other side, just people can just be passionate about it and learn on their own and
Right.
be
That's true.
just as good as anybody else.
That's
Right.
true.
But what it does, and also it teaches you a lot of things that you wouldn't normally be exposed to. You know, certain techniques, certain ways to do things that's tried and proven, especially with pastries, right?
Right.
There's an exact science to pastries, and if you fuck that up, you could fuck up the whole thing, you know. But the cooking, the main dishes, and so, man, go crazy sometimes.
Well, I tell you what, and you touched on that perfectly. Like, people don't realize it, but baking is probably the hardest
Mhm.
aspect
Yeah.
of cooking altogether.
Mm-hmm.
Yep,
I tell you
believe it.
what, like the pastry chefs I've been around and I've seen, they blow me away. I mean, I'm talking like I have more respect for the best level pastry chef that I've seen, more so than the respect for the Mario Batali
Mm-hmm.
or the Gordon Ramsay. And my going through culinary school, I had his name was Chef Gunther.
Gunther.
Oh, Chef
Yeah.
Gunther.
Shout out to Gunther.
Yeah.
Oh
shout out to
man,
Gunther.
I hope he's still alive.
Ha.
That's how old he was. But he was German, and you know, when I was going through culinary school, he even told me like he was born during World War II.
Oh,
or
wow.
like he was born before, but he grew up during World War II. He literally had two options, and this is what he said to me from that time period. He had two options. He could either go to this pastry school and start learning how to bake, or he could join the SS.
Oh wow.
Oh man.
Good choice, Gunther.
Yeah, and Chef Gunther, very good choice. You know what I mean? But then he told me when he was going, and he decided to become a pastry chef. They would pretty much be in like a barracks or like a school where they were waking up at 4 or 5 in the morning.
Okay.
They're learning stuff up to X amount of time at evening. Then you have dinner. Then you do this, and you go right to bed.
Wow.
You wake up, you do it again. So he grew up on a regimen of literally going to like a school for just pastry.
Wow.
And
That's crazy.
Was he making like cupcakes for the SS or something?
I don't know what
Shit.
the details were of as far as his SS baking skills were. However, you know, you fast forward, and this guy, he's showing me pictures of him that he was when he was at like his peak, and he's making like 15-foot tall wedding cakes.
Wow.
Nice.
And no
Nice,
bullshit, this guy in our fucking pastry class made a 3-tiered wedding cake, uniced. He iced the whole thing, 3 tiers, with icing flowers, and it saying like congratulations or happy birthday, whatever the fuck you wanted, and it looking pretty fucking phenomenal. 8 minutes.
Really?
This
8 minutes.
Oh,
this
shit.
guy would
Damn.
this guy bragged about how he could do 4 to 5 wedding cakes in an hour. And then not only that, he talked so much shit to our other pastry chef. She would walk in the door and he'd be like, "This lady, she does not know what the fuck she's talking about."
Fucking lazy bitch.
Damn.
Oh my God. But you know, and there's an edge too. Like we're talking kind of like the difference between then and now. This guy, Chef Gunther, I love you to death, man. he would literally, he told one of my best friends, we're doing sugar casting. So we're making like sugar sculptures. And he looked at my friend and he goes, "This is your sculpture?" My friend goes, "Yeah." And he goes, "John, if I were you, I'd go home and I'd shoot myself in the head."
Wow.
Damn.
Shit.
You know what I mean?
That's my
And like,
kind of chef.
that's what he grew up as. Which it's really funny. Like, I'm not, and this is no bullshit too. I did not learn as much responsibility as I did moving out here to Arizona on my own. It was just me and one of my good friends. No family out here between the two of us. We literally moved out here. We start living. This is right before I turned 21. He's still like 19 at the time. I turned 21 before we even go to school out here. We did not learn how to live until that point.
Right.
And especially going through culinary school, like, I didn't know what it took to be responsible.
Yeah.
And to learn how to do shit on my own.
Let me tell you, when I first came out here, my brother dragged me out here. We had a broken ass car.
Yeah,
And
man.
I had $100 in my pocket. Damn, that's all I had.
And you make it work, you know?
I had nothing. $100 in my pocket and a broken ass car.
Hey, man. At least we didn't learn how to pipe a cake at gunpoint and shit.
Dude, I tell you what, man. Man, Chef Gunther, that guy, he was honestly one of the biggest inspirations I had, not just from culinary, but just the same thing. Like I said, responsibility. By the time I started his class, and I thought, this guy is fucking insane. And by the time I got done with that class, my roommate and I were both waking up at 5 a.m. We were the first people in our classroom to start sugar casting.
Nice.
And we're making complete sugar sculptures. We're doing whatever the fuck he wants. We're getting there before he gets there. Well, there was even a point, there was one day where he came in and he saw the two of us there and the lights are off. Lights are off. We have our little areas set up. We're starting to melt sugar to cast it. And he walks in and he looks at us and like, "How long have you guys been here?" And we were like, "Oh, about an hour or so." And he looks at us like we're crazy. And he's like, "Okay." And then he just walks off. And that was about the most recognition you get from this guy. Yeah. But goddamn, I tell you what, deep down inside, that meant the fucking world.
Nice.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, nice.
Like, it meant the fucking world. And dude, again, we could talk food all goddamn day, Yeah. And as much as my background brings me from an Italian side to where I am at today, and I'll say right now, I love to cook everything. However, with that being said, I look like if I'm gonna try to make a pho for you guys, I got my fucking fingers and toes crossed, going, "Oh my god, I hope they at least say it's good." And I know it's not gonna be good. It ain't gonna be good. It's just gonna be like, you guys are gonna say, "Yo, that was great," but I'll be like walking away going, "White boy can't make pho." You know what I mean?
Nah, man, it's just one of those things, man. I think, like, especially with the way I am with food, I like to innovate. I like to try new things,
right?
Combinations of all kinds of strange stuff that might not work. Most of the stuff I just eat myself. My family won't even eat it, but you got to try things, man. You got to try new things to figure stuff out.
So speaking of which, you got this chili verde iteration of yours.
Oh, yeah,
going on right now.
Tonight, it didn't turn out as well as the first time.
You don't have to lie. That shit was fucking bomb. So
it definitely did not taste as good as the first time I made it. But
well, let's get it. So what was it? It was a chili verde, like a pork chili verde.
Chili. It was just the sauce.
Okay.
So what I figured out is when I make chili verde, which is maybe 4 or 5 times a year, I have to make enough just to freeze some away, and whenever I have the craving, I'll just defrost a little bit because it's a lot of work to go through it.
Yeah.
But I had the batch that I made last time turned out pretty good, and so that's what I used. But tonight I used that same batch to make chili verde chow fun. So
chow fun.
And there's still some out there if you guys want to try
verde,
it.
Chow fun. Okay, so for those that don't know, chow fun is traditionally
Chinese fried noodles. It's the bigger one.
The thicker noodle.
Yeah.
What kind of a noodle is it?
It's a rice noodle. It's
not an egg
noodle.
noodle. It's a rice noodle.
Plus, you can't, when you work with noodles, you can't use the dehydrated stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is the stuff that's made fresh and then just packaged.
Just
So
packaged fresh, and
Yeah.
then you pretty much reheat it, remoisturize it, whatever.
I pop it in the microwave for a couple minutes to get it to loosen back up, and then I'll start to pull them apart, and then I'll fry them after that.
Right. I tell you what, that shit was good though, man.
You liked it?
Oh, that was really good.
Yeah, I think what I did differently the first time, I didn't feel like I had enough sauce, but I had a lot more flavor. And then this time I added a little bit of chicken stock to get that more gravy.
So I noticed, like with this, obviously with the noodle, it soaked up a lot of that liquid.
Yeah.
So the noodle was a little bit more moist or a little thicker,
Mm-hmm.
than normal. However, I guess especially with an Asian dish, the heat behind it, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
the heat was there.
So
The flavor was there, especially when we had the rice wine vinegar to it, or the
fish sauce.
or the
Yeah.
fish sauce to it, and that's that brings out that saltiness.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. But then with the noodles too, not the heat of the wok matters a lot.
Right.
So, and of course with the type of oven, the electric oven I have, it doesn't produce that kind of heat. So the noodles don't stay intact as well. They start to break up a little bit. And plus, I'm not a huge fan of cooking it the traditional Chinese way because they just use tons and tons of oil.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? How my brother used his chili verde, and the word chili verde, right? And chili verde noodles. When I walked past it, I thought if it was greener, it had more green in it, I might have ate it.
Right.
I was like,
No, but and that's to go off just like you said with the name Chile Verde,
Yeah.
right? You're
I
like,
was
that's
looking at it,
not
it's like,
green enough.
if
I don't
had
see no verde
if it
in there.
looked green enough, I might have ate it. It had some green stuff in there.
I
would've
tell you
ate
what
it.
though, that
It's
shit
funny.
was bomb.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
shit
I
was
think
bomb.
believe
I
it.
think I finally honed down on the verde sauce itself. Like that's pretty solid, but I'm still trying like creative ways to palette it out.
So yeah, we need to figure out. I've never done a Chile Verde.
Yeah,
I've never done one.
we'll hook it up, man.
Yeah, I was gonna say we need to figure out. I think what we should do, we should probably do a couple videos. You doing
A couple
one,
podcasts with
yeah.
some food.
You doing one, me
Yeah,
doing one.
for
we
sure.
can do like hell. We can even put together a video of you doing the whole episode. Like the whole recipe, and then me cooking the whole recipe.
I don't know about the verde. I'll do other things, but the verde is sort
whatever
of my
it might
baby.
be, whatever it fucking
Yeah,
might be. But
anything.
I tell you what, you got me killing on the Verde right now.
Hey,
though. I ain't.
you know
you
what
gotta
I would like to
jumpstart.
see? I would like to see Chris give you a recipe. I mean, give you an item, and you give Chris an item, and you guys come back with it.
Yeah, that's actually
There
a
we
good
go.
idea. That's actually a really good
Sound
idea.
like
There we go. Next
Hey,
weekend.
Yeah, we
Sound
should
like I
do
wanna-
that.
you know what?
Mystery product, right? You bring
Yeah.
over your mystery product. I'll bring over my mystery product.
And you guys go
Yeah.
at it.
Yeah.
All right, and everybody shows up. And
Everybody
eats.
shows up to see
You
it.
do
Like, what the
Iron
hell?
Chef
I
Tomato
already-
Canica.
I already know what I'm giving you.
But
I already know
hey,
what
you
I'm
know
giving
what
you.
though? It has to be
Shit.
it has to be a protein piece. A protein piece, right?
All right. So are we giving recipes out?
No,
or
No,
just-
no. The idea is I give
You-
you a mystery item and you do whatever you want with
You
it.
take what we
and you
got.
bring it back.
Okay.
And same here.
You give him a mystery item, but it has to be a
alright.
protein piece.
Okay.
So we'll exchange Thursday and then because we're going to shoot Friday and then
Okay.
we'll have everybody, or should we do it for Saturday?
Hey, but I'm gonna tell you, man.
Yeah, maybe we should. Well, what we should definitely do. It doesn't matter what day we shoot, but we should definitely a couple days beforehand at least know what the ingredient
Oh,
is.
yeah, that's true. So
And
Thursday.
then, yeah, so then that way we can at least kind of get it down. You can film yours, I can try to film mine,
Yep.
and we can tie that in with the next episodes or whatever. But ultimate goal is we bring back our shit, right? We all sit
Yeah.
down and we
And
just
everybody
look at
eats,
it and
and
try
we'll
it.
talk about it.
Dude, I'm down for that.
Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah.
I got a feeling that's gonna be fucking awesome.
Yeah.
That'd
And
be
then we
nice.
gotta eat mushrooms on top of that.
You
No.
think you think we'll
Wait,
be able
just
to
exclude that?
coax out tomato can Rolo for that one?
Oh my god, we
Man.
better. I'll tell you this much. That Filipino holo, he can't make shit. I'll just say that. We'll just say that
Damn,
now.
man.
That motherfucker can't cook
I
shit.
miss you, Rolo.
Holo, where the fuck are you at? Man?
Wait, what are all the Filipinos? Can you sing, Rolo? Can you play pool?
Yeah.
Nope.
Damn.
Nope.
He'll fuck you up though in jujitsu.
Exactly.
And maybe eating too.
Oh, and drinking.
Oh,
Damn,
man.
that fucker can
We don't call him Fat Lat for nothing.
Well, he's probably bigger now.
No, man.
What are you talking about?
No,
He's been the
man.
only one training consistently.
Oh,
out of
that's
all
what,
of
that's
us.
what, you know what? No, I saw him I saw him about a week, maybe 2 weeks ago, man. He's still looking good. Still looking good.
Holo, I miss you, man.
Did
I
he
do
give you a
miss
hug?
No.
Yeah.
You know what? I locked eyes with Rolo. We wanted to give each other hugs, but we knew that there's a pandemic.
God damn, man.
Ah,
Well, fuck, guys. I mean, I want to keep going. I got to piss, though.
yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
can
I gotta
call
take
it a
a
break
break.
for now and shoot another episode.
I think we take a break. We can come
Yeah.
back and bullshit some more.
Yeah,
but,
man.
Damn it.
This is a fast one. This one was
Yeah.
fast.
All of it's fast.
And we didn't fucking say the C word not once.
No,
Oh.
we didn't. Oh my God, you're
That's
right.
good.
This
That is
ended
good.
up becoming a cooking pod. The C word was cooking. We fucking did it, guys. Success. Well, I
Oh.
tell you what, let's take a little break. We can always come back, do some more shit. But Twee, B, Lay over there being the
Yeah.
cameraman.
Yeah.
Lay's
Tomato
doing his
Can
thing,
Lay's
man.
in the background. He's not
there,
gonna be in
man.
this
He's-
episode.
He's not saying nothing, but he's there.
We're slowly but surely gonna get him on a microphone, and we're gonna get this talk, But hey, guys, B, Twee, always another episode. We got it done, man. Let's take a little break. We can come back. If not, we'll see you guys whenever the fuck we see you guys.
Peace.
Hater.
Tomato Can.
Cans. Peace.